What's good, everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another video. My voice is finally kind of getting back to normal after that crazy week plus long sickness that I had. So I want to thank everybody that stuck with me throughout that whole time period. But we got to stick with the awesome Nintendo Switch 2 and RPG news. We got big updates on leaked games for the Nintendo Switch 2, in addition to an update on Deca Police and more when it comes to, I would say, level 5 and their use of AI. So a lot of stuff to get into. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it with the leak, starting out here with Nash Weedle. I don't cover him as much because he has been off on some of the Nintendo Direct stuff, but when it comes to some of the leaked game stuff for the Nintendo Switch 2, he's been spot on. Doc Trey's even talked about that. He's been spot on, and he's also covered the games that we're going to talk about as well. So I decided I wanted to discuss it here in this video. So on Twitter, Nash Weedle had this to say: Leak Express from Disney. They are insisting that all video game developments linked to the brand to be released on the Nintendo Switch 2. As a consequence of this, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order and Survivor will already be on the way to the Nintendo Switch 2 console. So very interesting there, and that would completely make sense if Disney said, hey, look, we want to make sure that we maximize our profits. If we have the Nintendo Switch 2, for example, a system that's exploding in popularity, so many new people are buying the system, and it's going to get even bigger, in my opinion, in 2026 with new Gen 10 Pokemon and probably another massive 3D Mario or another big core pillar game from Nintendo. You've got to get those games out on that system, especially with the decline of Xbox. You're essentially not selling to everybody that you can be selling and making and maximizing your profit and revenue. Another thing with this is that, once again, Doc Trey already covered this before, that the Star Wars Jedi Survivor and Jedi Fallen Order games were going to be coming over to the Nintendo Switch 2. There is low power modes for these games as well, because they did have some frame rate issues initially on Xbox Series and PlayStation 5, but they actually made a PlayStation 4 and Xbox One version of both of these games overall. We're more like the original Fallen Order was on Xbox One, but Jedi Survivor, that was PS5, Xbox Series, PC only. Then they downported that to PS4 and Xbox One, so you can bet that there's going to be Nintendo Switch 2 versions of both of these games. Now, I think that the interesting thing will be, how will they actually put these games out? Is it going to be a double pack between both of them digital? You can pick it up because the file size is probably going to be pretty big. I doubt they're going to do an actual physical cartridge. It's EA, it's Star Wars, so I'm just guessing that they're not going to do that. I'm guessing it's going to be a digital only or game key card type of situation for these games. But what are the file size going to be? Exactly how are they going to put them together? Is it going to be two separate releases? How are they going to do it? I think based off of how they do it, that's going to be the success that this port can have, and hopefully it's actually up to snuff. We've seen with Ubisoft that they've been making some pretty good ports on the Nintendo Switch 2 so far. They've been focusing in and making sure that the developers do a great job of getting that complex code ported over from Xbox and PlayStation to the Nintendo Switch 2. So I think that if the Star Wars Jedi Survivor Fallen Order developers can do the same thing, I think that we can actually have some really good ports of these games, which I have the original game on the Xbox One with Fallen Order. I don't have Survivor yet, but Fallen Order is pretty good. I just kind of fell off of it overall, but it's a pretty good game from what I've seen. I've watched a lot of Star Wars Jedi Survivor. That's also a good game. It's got elements of all sorts of titles, even Metroid in there too. So I do think that this would be a great release for the Nintendo Switch 2, and I think that we're going to see a lot of 2026 third-party ports over to the platform as things kind of expand and pick up quite a bit for the platform after the first initial 6 months or so. I think 2026 is the year that we get so many more third-party announcements, considering this has probably been the best third-party wise for a launch of a system in Nintendo history, or probably since like the Super Nintendo. Nintendo systems haven't had it this good with third party in the first 6 months in a very long time. So it's definitely good to see this so far, and hope we get more when it comes to the third party announcements. So what do you guys think about this when it comes to the Star Wars games coming over? Let me know in the comment section below. But before we get to the next topic, please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, and click that notification bell to get my videos as soon as they drop. All right, let's go ahead and move on to an update on a highly anticipated game, and that is Deca Police. So Ken Motomura from Level 5 did share an update on this oft-delayed game, which was first announced back in 2023 for the Nintendo Switch 1, and obviously plans have changed. So here's what he had to say, quote, "As for Deca Police, which I'm in charge of, the information I can share at this time is limited, but development is steadily progressing. We're also taking on new gameplay challenges unique to this title, including elements of deduction and storytelling. We hope to announce more at a time and in a way that properly conveys its appeal, so please look forward to it." So this game had one of the weirdest tracks when it comes to it, because Level 5 is known for this, announcing a game a bit too early, kind of moving and delaying and changing up gameplay completely. They did this with Fantasy Life, where they completely changed the direction even after announcing it, and they had to have huge delays for it. And ultimately, like with most Level 5 games, it actually ends up working out pretty well for them when they do this, but it's something that we just kind of have to go through overall. So Deca Police has already had a major change to its combat from when it was first revealed to when they kind of re-revealed it or showed it again at the Tokyo Game Show, and it pretty much won like game of the show there, and many people actually got a chance to play it. Then they like changed it again and did different things with the combat and stuff. So they've already, I wouldn't say completely rebooted development, but they've already changed a number of things with this game overall. So I'm guessing that they're going to make even bigger changes from when the last time that we saw this game. Now, what he did say here is that they're going to have elements of deduction and storytelling. So there is a lot of that in this game. There is a lot of detective work and different types of dialogue and how things work out. Now, at the last update, they stated they wanted to build a more rich world overall with more locations and everything that were outside of what we already saw with the city. So I think that this game is just becoming bigger and more intricate and more in-depth with every single passing moment, because they do want it to be a core pillar. Also, at the last update that we got for this game, they said that there's going to be an anime with it. So they're going to do the anime, they're going to do the video game. They're really trying to go in and have this be a big IP, a core pillar IP for them, because if they're bringing out the anime with it, then obviously they want it to become something big. Now, I think that it has the potential. Deca Police instantly grabbed me with its music and its visuals and its combat and its style. It looks like it's going to be really good. And Level 5, when they finally complete and finish a game and put it out, it's usually among some of the best overall. It just takes quite some time, which is why I think when it comes to this next article that Level 5 is doing what they're doing when it comes to AI. So we'll talk about that in just a bit. But when it comes to Deca Police, man, I'm super excited for this game. I think it's going to be really good. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do next with it, and I can't wait to see what they reveal for it. Now, when it comes to platforms and launch timing, I think that they're going to re-reveal it in 2026. I think that it's going to be on the Nintendo Switch 2, in addition to, of course, they already announced PlayStation 5, maybe PlayStation 4. We'll see if Xbox gets thrown into the mix as well with this game. PC's already going to be a thing, but I'm very much looking forward to getting Nintendo Switch 2 version built specifically for that, because, you know, the Switch 1 version, what they're doing at this point, probably going to be 30 FPS with some dips. So I'm looking forward to that 60 FPS Switch 2 version of the game and better quality that you can play anywhere that you want. Level 5 games are perfect for that type of style. I loved Ni no Kuni, for example, so I do think that this should be pretty good on what they're doing here. Looking forward to hearing more about Deca Police in 2026. So what do you guys think about what they have to say here with this update with Deca Police? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, now speaking of Level 5 and how they're taking a long time for their games, there's a reason why they want to stop doing that, and how they intend to achieve that is because of AI and what's happening here. So Mr. Akihiro Hino, who is the Level 5 CEO, he has responded to a viral tweet about Level 5's use of AI, and he talked about this in depth overall in terms of what's happening. And I'm going to give you guys essentially what he had to say here in full overall. So the commotion about AI, and he said, "Today, unusually for me, I'll write about something other than the game I'm making. I came across the story that a certain game developer had an award stripped from them using AI." He's talking about Clair Obscur Expedition 33 and how the Indie Game Award Show stripped the title because it used AI placeholders or AI at the beginning, and maybe they weren't completely forthcoming or upright with them before they submitted the ballot or whatever the case was. Okay, getting back to what he had to say. And this has stirred up controversy about how Level 5 had previously announced that they were using AI to improve development efficiency. I'd like to share a few thoughts on this. First off, I think many game companies these days are incorporating AI into game development for efficiency gains. The difference is whether they publicize it or not. That said, the claim that Level 5 is having AI write 80 to 90% of their program code is a major misunderstanding. The truth of the matter is that there's an unreleased title themed around AI, and for that specific title, a programmer mentioned they're deliberately having AI handle the programming as well. They use that as an example to suggest that an era like that might be coming, and that's what got blown out of proportion. On the flip side, if they were really creating 80 to 90% of the code with AI and successfully making games that way, it'd be incredibly impressive and they'd be in high demand from the AI community. We haven't reached that level yet. That said, it's also true that AI is enabling time saving and can't be dismissed, and I believe that this has the potential to upend common sense in game development. It might shift us from a world where developing the AAA games everyone wants to play takes 5 to 10 years to one where we get to enjoy them every 2 years. AI sometimes gets treated like it's synonymous with plagiarism, but a knife can be used for cooking or as a weapon. A computer can create games or enable cybercrime. AI might produce plagiarized content if misused, but if used properly, it has the power to enrich the creative world even further. I want to see games evolve even more in my lifetime. I want to experience and create dreamlike games that surpass the standards of today's AAA titles. If we let the impression take hold here that using AI is evil, it could seriously hinder the advancement of modern digital technology. I hope creators and audiences alike can recognize AI as a tool that people use to make their works. Here's to hoping that various technological innovations lead to even greater growth in the game industry. So it's one of those interesting things that definitely has a lot of people on both sides that will talk about it. I don't necessarily have a super strong way that I'm going to go at this point, because I do think that there's definitely a lot of things to say about how AI can be plagiarized content when it comes to art or when it comes to other things. But there's also other things that say, okay, no, AI can be used to actually be a tool to help efficiency and other things that's not plagiarized. That's simply you actually honing in. There's a lot of companies and businesses in a lot of different tech sectors that already use AI and they're not plagiarizing everything. So I understand what he's saying here, and I understand where people that are going against him, I understand what they're saying as well. So it's one of those things to where they're just going to have to be very careful in terms of how it's used and how they use it and explain it. Now, there was something that Mr. Hino said here that I thought was interesting. It's whether the companies announce it or not. Like, there's nothing in there that says that they have to announce that they're using AI. You can accuse a company of doing so, but there's nothing in there that actually proves that they can for most things. I know that when Mario Kart World was first coming out, somebody accused Nintendo of using AI to do some of the art in the game because they were zooming in and saying, look, this is AI. And Nintendo was like, no, we're not using AI. So I do think a lot of it would be like a witch hunt type of thing to where people just say, I think this is using AI. Then people kind of talk about it. Overall, if a company doesn't want to actually say they're using it or not, Level 5 is one of those companies that takes a long time to make games overall. So for their sake, at least, I can see why Mr. Hino's like, yeah, we need something to make games a bit quicker because our games are taking way too long. Even our games that don't have the AAA-est of graphics, like, for example, Fantasy Life, that took a long time to put out. Deca Police is taking quite some time to put out. So they want to make sure that it's efficient overall. But if you're taking 5 to 10 years per game, it's going to be tough with people getting up there in years. So I understand it from the consumers who feel that, no, you can't do this. And I understand it from their side as well. So I think ultimately what's going going to happen is this. If the game is good, people aren't going to care. If it's something like Claire Obscure, Expedition 33, which they did say they had some placeholders, who knows? They might have had more AI that they didn't want to talk about or they don't feel like discussing overall. I don't know. I'm not going to sit there and say that it is 100%, but I just don't know overall. But I don't think people care because they like the game. So if the game ultimately is good, I think people are just not going to care if AI is used. Now, will there be some people that are completely against it and won't buy the games? Absolutely. There's always people that are going to be strong against one thing or another, but I think most people are probably going to be like, okay, well, if the game is good, I'm going to play it, especially if they use it for efficiency or optimization or something. So yeah, I think that's just how it's going to be at this point when it comes to AI, but we'll see how it all works out when it comes to what Mr. Akihiro Hino had to say here and kind of what's going on. So what do you guys think about everything that we discussed here when it comes to level 5 and their use of AI or not? Deca Police and an update on that. And of course, the big leaked third-party titles with Star Wars Jedi that is coming to the Switch 2, apparently. Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch 2 RPG content and more right here on screen. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.